So my fantastic panel is back with us. I'm excited to have Jill and Charles. So Jill, I suspect you may have a slight little bit of a difference with our friend Charles on this idea of who identifies as Republican in this polling. What's your take?
I do, and I agree with almost everything Charles says all the time. But in this case, I think when we're looking at those numbers, that we have a smaller Republican Party today than we've ever had, and that the 21% of people who identify as Republicans and therefore are against the investigation are this smaller group that now are complete Trumpers, and that the independents, which have a very high support of the investigation, now include people who used to be Republicans but no longer can tolerate being part of the Republicans. And so that 61% of people identifying here as independents include a lot of former Republicans.
Well, and that's probably true. And it's a nicer, safer space for them to go. But on that point, let's go a little bit further. You have a Trump spokesman who had an interesting tweet this week saying, in part, no redactions should be necessary and the whole affidavit should be released, given the Democrats' penchant for using redactions to hide government corruption, just like they did with the Russia hoax. So obviously there will be some redactions in this affidavit when it's released because of the national security interests. So is Trump world, I think, to Charles' earlier point, is preparing to blame, to set up some conspiracy behind these redactions, which are in due order and important, given the nature of what's inside the affidavit, to establish a different narrative?
Yes, exactly. I think that, as Charles said, they're trying to set the narrative and to create a blame. They have to know how dangerous it would be for this to be released, because the probable cause was proven true, and it is going to include some very significant and dangerous things. Even the things that everybody is talking about might not be redacted, like the conversations that the Department of Justice and the FBI had with Trump and his lawyers to get these documents back without the need for a search warrant, which would show how carefully the government acted in trying to avoid this extreme step of a search warrant, trying to get them when they knew he had classified information, which he clearly had to have known. And if he didn't, he knew after the first time that the FBI was there and left with documents. He knew. And he's been warned many times to review the documents. His lawyers, even his newest lawyer, who has very significant federal prosecution experience, was one of the people who said that they've got everything that they need. Everything that's classified has been taken away. That lawyer could have a conflict of interest and no longer be able to represent him because he may end up being a witness in this case. So there's some very interesting things going on, and I think that people will start seeing it, and that, in fact, the reason the Trump people did not file any papers to have the affidavit released is because they know it's going to hurt him. And they don't want it to hurt him, but they want the narrative of the government is hiding something. We have nothing to hide. We want it all released. And they also know that damaging information to the national security would be at risk if the full affidavit were to be released. So the reason it's sealed is for very valid reasons to protect this country.
So Charles, we've got about a minute left. What do you make of the Trump allies now pushing Trump to to release or have everybody release the surveillance video? First it was, show us the warrant. Then it was like, oh, we need to see the affidavit. Now it's like, put out the surveillance video. What do you think of that?
Well, Mike, when you have to deal with a evolving story where facts continue to come at you, a moving target becomes much harder to hit. And I think that they understand that. So if you can distract the focus in various directions in order to try and support different stories that you told, it makes it a lot harder for the public to keep up with the narrative. I mean, they're definitely not sitting down. And when I say they, I'm referring to the average person, even someone who's news conscious, is not sitting down and reading every word of every legal pleading that's being filed in this matter. And even if they are, they're mostly lay people who may not be able to understand the intricacies and sophistication of what's actually going on in court. So that leaves people to sort of listen to and hear from their representatives, hear from their elected officials and leaders. And if they're continuously changing the focus and shifting what's important, then that's going to distract the public in many respects, especially people who want to support Donald Trump and who want to sort of see the bad guy ultimately win in terms of escaping the big bad government that has targeted this little guy who, that narrative that has been continuously pushed. If they, it's easier to continue to get their support if you're able to keep shifting the focus of the story. And this is just another attempt at doing that. It's just kind of sort of, let's throw everything at the wall and see what sticks, regardless of what's happening in court.
Exactly. Yeah. Just throw it up there and see what lands. We thank you both. But before I let you both go, I'm a big pen guy. I love pens, and I love Jill's pens. So I know you got one on, Charles. What's your pen before I get to Jill real quick?
So my pen, I wear this pen literally every time I'm on. It's Black Brilliance. It is a personal mantra and a belief of mine about affirming and embracing the brilliance of what it is and who it is to be Black. It's a brand. It's my brand, and I'm always happy to have it on and to support and to show that, Black brilliance is a thing, and let's embrace it. I
embrace that. Trust me. The brilliance part I'm still working on, but I embrace the Black part. I'm working on it. And Jill, you always bring the pen, girl. What you got today?
Today's pin says, cancel the Trump show. And I think that we're seeing from all we've talked about today why we need to cancel the show as opposed to the reality. I mean, if this was reality, they would have been in that courtroom asking, instead of doing what William Barr did about the Mueller report. Take the narrative. Say there's no collusion when, in fact, there is. Say there's no obstruction when the case proves that there is.
Well, we appreciate you both. Charles Coleman and Jill Wine-Banks, thank you very, very much. Up next, there seems to be no end to the steady stream of legal woes for Donald Trump. And as the investigations get closer to his inner circle, from Rudy Giuliani to Lindsey Graham, it has many wondering who's going to flip first. Keep it right here.